magical. First to the Emirates, and the standout tie from the FA Cup third round didn't disappoint as Arsenal and Manchester United produced a thriller. United triumphed on penalties despite playing an hour with 10 men. Arsenal once again were made to pay for wayward finishing, and their problems were compounded by Gabriel Jesus going off with a serious-looking injury.
We managed to score, and then I felt that in that moment we were able to improve with the ball, but with the sent-off was really hard on us. And then we suffered altogether, defending very well with some opportunities from Arsenal. The players were really tired, but I felt since the first minute that today was our day. And I felt also a connection with our fans, our staff. It was a very good day for us in that aspect. We need to improve the way we play football.
Well, for United, there were redemption stories for Joshua Zirkzee and Altay Bayındır. Zirkzee scored the winning penalty after only 2 weeks ago. He was substituted in the first half against Newcastle and jeered by United fans, while Bayındır's poor punch led to Arsenal's goal. He then made up for it with 2 penalty saves.
Your life as a footballer has cycles and moments, and sometimes in 1 week your life can change. And you can see Altay. Against Tottenham, everybody was pointing the finger for Altay, and I understand that. And today, he was our hero also. Joshua, a few weeks ago, had a small problem with our fans, and today, every time he's going on the pitch, you feel that the support from the fans, and then he has the last penalty. So the life is like that, and you have to continue humble, to work every day. Your time will come, and so it's really important for them, not just for them, but for his teammates.
OK, we'll look at the Arsenal point of view in a few minutes on the Football Show, but to the victor, the spoils. Let's turn our attention to Manchester United. So down to 10, but still a draw after 120 minutes. Following on from that draw with Liverpool, we said they needed to back it up. Did they do just that? Are we really seeing improvements here?
Yeah, I think that's what we said. It was great doing it against Liverpool. Can they then do it against Arsenal? Can they continue to keep doing it? And I think what we saw was a real strong defensive display. I thought they were very well organised off the ball. The shape was very good. I thought they worked really hard and, made it difficult for Arsenal. I suppose that helps with time on the training ground. They've had that period where Amorim can work with his players and work on the shape, so that's bound to help. I think also maybe having a consistent line-up in terms of not chopping and changing. We saw a lot of players in and players out. We were saying, was he sort of trialling players, or was that due to the amount of games that they had and he had to keep changing? So the fact that now you could probably name 9 or 10 out of his starting 11 that he wants. I'm not saying that's going to be his starting 11 moving forward. I think he certainly will bring in players that he wants to fit into that system. But at the moment, the players that he feels are right at this moment in time, you could probably say. So I think that helps with connections then, doesn't it? So, yeah, I think you've got to praise how strong they were defensively. I think the thing is now moving forward, I think they're playing Southampton next. What are they going to be like in an attacking sense? So if they've got to then take the game to teams, how are they going to be then? I suppose that's the next question. But from a defensive perspective, and obviously the result, the fact that they're into the next round, I think it's certainly positives to take.
Yeah. Let's talk about Altay Bayındır, shall we? And his post-match interview would have been music to Amorim's ears, because effectively what he was saying is, yeah, I don't play very much, but this is Manchester United. You have to be ready when you're called upon. He made that key penalty save in normal time. Considering how little he has played, how impressed was he?
Yeah, I think, like he says, though, you've always got to be prepared and you've got to train properly, be ready for those situations. So there's an element of luck at times with a penalty save as well, but then there's the other side of it where there is your homework, where you look at what the player who's taken the penalty does and what his record is. And Odegaard had a decent enough record. I think he scored 3 out of 3 before that penalty yesterday. So, yeah, it's a really good save from him. I think there's been sections of maybe Manchester United fans who've wanted to see a little bit more of him. I know he'd made a mistake previously the last time he played, but then when you've got that consistent run of games, you can showcase what you can do in more long term. So I think it's something that maybe Amorim will look at a little bit more closely, because I think Onana's been at fault for a lot in recent weeks and hasn't covered himself in too much glory.
Yeah. What about Joshua Zirkzee? When he stood up to take that final penalty, I don't know what he was thinking, but I was looking between my fingers considering what had gone before. We've seen him struggle since joining United. How much could this be a turning point? How much does he need this?
Yeah, I hope so. I was the same as you, and I think unless you're an Arsenal fan, just as a football fan, you just wanted him to do well. You wanted him to score that, because of what had happened previously in the Newcastle game, where he was took off. Was it 33 minutes? I think he was took off, and then what had happened with a section of the fans. So you just wanted him to be successful. I actually thought he did well when he come on. He held the ball up well. He linked play. He worked hard off the ball, and yeah, it's a big moment, isn't it? When all of that's happened, it shows, I suppose, the character of the player, and it just shows how football can change so quickly. You know, 1 week you're coming off, and it wasn't just him. I think obviously Amorim needed to change things because of what was happening in that Newcastle game, because of how they were getting overrun in the midfield area. But you have to then go, okay, that's happened to me. How do I respond from that? And you know, he certainly responded in the right way. It's now he's the hero, isn't he, scoring the winning penalty?
Stephen. You said for so long that United lacked an identity. When Ten Hag you were saying, I really don't know what this is. Are we starting to see that? And if so, what are we seeing that indicates that?
Yeah, I think we are seeing a little bit of an identity. I don't still think it's one that Manchester United fan. I know a lot of Manchester United fans have been buoyed by the last couple of results, and the result against Liverpool and the result yesterday. Sue touched on it earlier. I spoke about this the other day, about the system and how difficult it is to play in. I think the players are starting to adapt to that system, but more so in a defensive way. When you try and flip that and then go to an attacking sense, it's very easy when you play three at the back and you play wing backs to drop back into a deep shape, and you can invite pressure onto you, because it should be difficult to break that team down. And I think that's what we've seen in Manchester United, especially yesterday against Arsenal, when they do go down to 10 men and they find it difficult to get up the pitch. But it's what's happening at the top end of the pitch. Where's the creativity? What's the ideas going forward? So I know he doesn't have the players yet to perhaps play out the system that he wants to bring in, which is that the 3-4-3 system. But I'm still not convinced by it. I'm still going to put my neck on the line and say I don't like the system, and I'm talking about that from a point of view of playing within that system. And I know I've taken a lot of criticism online and social media about this, but there's still an element where I think, if you want to win things in this system, and that is ultimately what Manchester United are trying to get back to, is back to competing for the Premier League, from back to competing for trophies, is that's where you're going to be questioned. And people will come at me again and go, yeah, but Bayer Leverkusen did it. It's not the Premier League. It's not as competitive. Look what happened when they came to Anfield this season. They got battered 4-0 because of the system. Arne Slot found faults within the system. And then United fans will say, yeah, but they didn't find those faults in United when they came to Anfield. It's a different game. It's a derby. It's not this normal type of game that you play in, week out. There's so much emotion and so much tension in them games, is that decision making isn't quite at its best. So listen, the last couple of games, United fans will be buoyant. They'll be delighted with what they've seen, but let's judge them at the end of the season and where they end up.
He didn't like playing in a back three, did he?
Hated it.
He absolutely
Hated
loathed it, didn't he? Yeah. I think I got that after all these years. OK, Sue. I mean, winning an FA Cup third-round tie is lovely.
Yeah.
Getting a draw at Anfield, kind of OK.
Yeah.
But they are 13th in the table. They're closer to Ipswich in the bottom three than they are, points-wise, to Chelsea in the top four.
Yeah.
So what is success? What would be considered OK for Amorim between now and May?
I suppose it's to see progression, isn't it? It's to see this team develop into the team that Manchester United fans want to see, something that they can maybe believe in and go, okay, this is how we're going to play, this is our identity, which is something that we said for a long period of time with Manchester United. We couldn't see how they were moving forward and what the identity was. You can straight away, you know exactly what they're trying to do. So I suppose to see progression in that, maybe the players that they bring in to fit into that system. And yeah, it's just building. So at the moment, we're seeing real solid defensive foundations. So they're building on that. Then it's, okay, what can we see from them in an attacking sense? Because at the moment, we are still seeing just those moments of brilliance. You know, the Bruno Fernandes finish, the breakaway, whether it's Ahmad or... So that's what we were saying previously. We were saying, well, they've got moments in an attacking sense, but can we see that consistently? So I think that's probably what Manchester United fans want to see. But I also want to praise, I think, Harry Maguire. I think he's done brilliant. You know, to come into that back three, I think it suits him really well.
He loves it.
He does. He does.
He loves it, but you can tell, can't
protected.
you? Yeah, and his performances of
Delict as well, that clearance.
Absolutely, and that's what you're seeing. So you're seeing that. Let's see the attacking sense. So yeah, if they could go and be successful in a cup and just see the progression, I think Manchester United fans will see that as maybe a building season for next year.
I think this is a really difficult question, though, in the fact of when you say what do Manchester United fans expect or what's acceptable, is all we keep on hearing is, and this is from United fans as well, we don't have the players to play the system. So if you don't have the players to play the system, where do you expect United to finish in the league? Then how do you expect to see United progressing as a team if they don't have the players to play within the system? It's very difficult, isn't it? And then you're going, well, we'll judge them next year when they bring the players in. That's when you effectively should be judging him, because it's very difficult to come in halfway through a season if he doesn't have the players to play the system that he wants to play. Now, if he comes in and says, I don't care about the players, it's just about improvements in the system and making sure things get better, they will start to climb the table, but he's going to get rid of quite a lot of these players, apparently. So I'm a little bit torn as to how you judge where they're at as a football club.
Yeah.
Effectively, you're saying, it doesn't matter what happens this year. It's all about next year. Then judge me next year when I get my signings in. But then there'll always be, but judge me in the next transfer window and the one after that, because I'm still adding to this.
Yeah.
And that's what people are always going to say.
And the other thing is, do Manchester United then really invest in that system and bring players in to play in that system to then go, oh, actually, that hasn't worked? That's another concern, I suppose, for Manchester United, because we saw what happened with Ten Hag, where Ten Hag was going to go, and they then went, oh no, we want you to stay, we'll give you all this money. So again, he's brought in the players that he wants that now Amarin doesn't really want. So it's... Yeah.
What I gathered from that is Stephen is arguing, bin off the back three and go back four. You're not playing anymore, is that?
No, I'm okay.
Yeah. As for Arsenal, Mikel Arteta felt his side didn't get what they deserved.
Incredible how you don't win the game. That's basically to sum up the dominance, the superiority in relation to your opposition, and everything that we did to try to win the game. And that's it. That we didn't deserve. We didn't get what we deserved, clearly. But there is an element that is about putting the ball in the back of the net. It did it once, and with the amount of situations, chances, penalties that we had, we didn't. And we go home extremely sad, but I cannot be prouder of my players, on the team, individual, collectively, what they produce. Like on Wednesday against Newcastle, against two top teams, it is incredible. But we haven't got rewarded, and that's the downside to it.
Arsenal had a number of chances. Stephen, the big debate, ifs and buts and whatever. But would this game have gone to extra time and penalties if they had an out-and-out goal scorer in their team?
Well, they wouldn't have if they had a decent penalty taker as well. I mean, if Odegaard scores the penalty, we're not even discussing that now, because Arsenal probably go on to win the game and maybe go on and extend the lead, because United then have to come out of the shape and it changes the context of the game. Mikel Arteta will always have this argument where he wants more goals from other players, and that's been his argument for a long time now, and not being overly heavily reliant on one single player, because his argument would be then is, if that player gets injured, where does that leave us as a team? We're so reliant on one player that where them goals going to be spread out elsewhere. So I get both sides to it. I do think if you are going to be a team that competes for both the Champions League and the Premier League, I think you do need a goal scorer within your team that is going to get you the goals to turn games like that single-handedly or given an opportunity. So the hard thing is that Arsenal have invested an awful lot of money over the last few years within the squad. And I think he's almost said it, is that he's not sure how much they've got to spend or whether there is money to spend in January, but his hands are very tied at the moment with the injuries that they've got.
Yeah, let's talk about Kai Havertz, shall we? I don't think any player has ever gone out there, well, you correct me if I'm wrong, and thought, I know what I'll do, I'll miss some today. He didn't do what he did on purpose, and yet I'm reading this morning about social media abuse being quite disgusting towards him and his wife. He did miss a number of chances. The problem is he's not a centre forward, is he? He's never been a centre forward, and yet you're asking him to play there. So should he be doing better, or is this the fact that he is simply a player who's stepping up and going, I'll play there if you need me to?
Well, he'll know that he's a quality player. He'll know that he should have done better with the opportunities that he's had. You know, I think as players, that's the first thing you do, isn't it? You look at yourself and you go, right, how could I have done better that opportunity against Newcastle, my opportunities yesterday against Manchester United? So he'll be, you know, reflecting, I'm sure, on that. But yeah, he is a player that's playing out of position. Yes, he can play there. We know that. We know that the qualities that he's got. But he isn't an out-and-out striker. But that, again, depends how Mikel Arteta wants to play. And we know that he wants to play where goals come from everywhere. And unfortunately, a lot of the chances have fell to Havertz recently, and you know, he's not been able to take those chances. So that debate is always going to be there, isn't it? Do Arsenal need an out-and-out striker? I think when you look at them, it would obviously give them another dimension, wouldn't it, to have that?
Yeah.
But it just depends on how they want to play and how Mikel Arteta wants to play. But they certainly, I think, need reinforcements in that attacking area. The injury to Saka, Jesus, again, we don't know what's happened with him, but you feel that they just need that, I suppose, just boosting that forward line, because maybe the players haven't quite hit the form that we know they can.
It's interesting, though, because you just said there that he's playing Havertz and he's probably not in his position, but Arteta does see him in that position, doesn't he? So there's got to be an element where you go, he isn't a natural striker, so he is going to miss opportunities because he doesn't have that killer instinct in front of goal. That's not him. He's a different type of player, but he knew that when he brought him into the club. He was never going to be a 30-goal-a-season man, was he? That was never what you were buying when you brought him into the club. He's not going to be that player who plays off the shoulder. I think that the frustrating thing with Havertz is that the opportunities that he misses yesterday, and that he misses quite a lot in all fairness, is that he gets in great positions. But the biggest thing that top strikers have is they have composure in front of goal, and between their ears there's that element of being able to calm themselves down and relax themselves and give them more time in the head when they can see perhaps what a defender's going to do or what a goalkeeper will do, is that they can slow the game down in the head. He hasn't got that ability to do that, but we almost knew that, and probably Mikel Arteta did. Whether he thought he could coach that, then that might be a different side of it, but all strikers that I've played with just have a natural ability to know where to be, but also have that killer instinct to finish those chances.
Yeah, Sue mentioned Gabriel Jesus. Looks like it's a serious injury. That's what Arteta said afterwards. Right, is it a statement of where Arsenal think they're at, whether they go into the market then this January? If they think they've got a sniff of the title, they're now without Saka, without Jesus, Waneri as well. They're looking threadbare up there. A big money buy could be the difference.
Yeah, and it's the unknown, isn't it? It could be the difference, but it could be that they're still so light in there. And that's the issue you do get. What are the options in those forward areas? I mean, if you're bringing someone in, it's going to have to be a top quality striker. Who's going to allow Arsenal to buy a top quality striker off them within the Premier League? Who's going to release one in Europe out of the top teams in the Champions League? Are they going to allow a top striker to go to Arsenal? I'm not so sure that would happen. Why would you strengthen an opposition team? It's a very difficult market. We know that in January.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about Arsenal, and this is the both of you, out of the FA Cup, behind in the EFL Cup. They're trying to chase down Liverpool in the Premier League. Champions League, they're sitting okay for qualifying to the next phase. But this is a pivotal moment for them. It could go one of either ways here. And if they end up empty-handed again in a season where City have dropped off the pace and it looked like their ideal opportunity to go and take the title, what would that mean?
Well, I think you look at how close they come to Manchester City finishing second. I thought this year would have been their season, with obviously Jurgen Klopp leaving. I wondered what would happen with Liverpool. Would this be the chance for Arsenal to actually go and get that? And Liverpool have been brilliant and blown everybody away. So I think all Arsenal can do is, yes, they're out of the FA Cup, but they've still got an opportunity in the Carabao Cup. I know it's going to be difficult for them, but they're still in that. Obviously, the Champions League, they'll still keep fighting on the Premier League front. So it's just a case of keeping going. They've been unfortunate with the injuries that they've had, the missing Ødegaard for a period of time, now missing Saka, two of their key players in an attacking sense. So they'll be hoping that these players can come back fit and really push on for the next part of the season.
Yeah, I don't care how good a team you are. If you lose Saka, Ødegaard for long periods of time, but I think there's also been an element where Declan Rice has struggled. I think a lot of players have struggled, not just at Arsenal, but throughout the leagues where they've come back from the Euros and they found life really difficult to get back up to steam, and then it's been a little bit too late for them. And I think we're seeing that with a lot of the Arsenal players, is that they found it really difficult to find the form again. It has been a really tough season for them through injuries, but a lot of clubs will look at it and say, yeah, well, we've been struck ourselves and we've found life difficult, but especially when it's Ødegaard and Saka, they're their key players.
Yeah, it's not just Arsenal who perhaps
They're
are
also
struggling with
reporting in Italy that AC Milan had previously sounded out Kyle Walker about a move to the club. Pep Guardiola revealing yesterday, of course, that Walker has asked to leave the club. That was a big storyline after the game against Salford. How much tribute should we give Kyle Walker in terms of his importance to Manchester City's success, Dean, first and foremost?
Yeah, I think you would have to give him a lot because of what he's given to the football club and the trophies that they've won, and he's been a big part of that. You look at the amount of times the recovery runs he makes, the moments where you think, especially early on under Pep Guardiola, when teams really were looking to counter-attack Manchester City, he always was the one that you felt would get them out of trouble. And he's been a leader at the club as well. I think that's underestimated, actually, his leadership within the football club. But actually, it doesn't surprise me, the timing of this with Kyle Walker. It feels like that kind of crossroads moment for him.
Jay, you want to come in?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything Dino said there. Kyle Walker's had an unbelievable career, his whole career as well. Every team he's played for, he's been very consistent. Look at the trophies.
Premier League titles.
I mean, look at the trophies he's won, and he has been a leader. But me and Clinton spoke about this last week. Every player, Father Time catches up to every player, whether you like it or not. And I look at Kyle Walker, and to me, he's always been a recovery defender. Because of his physical attributes, he can get himself back and make tackles. He's strong. It's difficult to get past him. But as you go into your 30s, your late 30s, I mean, look at this. Adama Traore
it seems a bit unfair.
Yeah, it's a bit unfair. He's a sprinter. He's not a footballer. He's a sprinter. But, I mean, as you get older, ultimately, you lose those physical attributes. You lose a yard of pace. That isn't happening, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. It happens now. Sorry, Teddy.
No.
And I feel like as you get older, you need to be able to read the game properly. You need to be able to be very good positionally. And I don't think Walker's ever been good positionally or read the game to a high level. But what he has had is his physical attributes. So now he's losing those physical attributes. We're starting to see him get caught out a bit more. But there's no doubt about it. He's been one of, England's best right-backs of all time.
It's been Man City's insurance policy, I suppose, hasn't he, Clinton, when they go forward, that he's always there at the back. How do you assess his position at the moment? How difficult is it to adapt if you've had that sensational pace?
No, but that's because he's just set high standards. And Tottenham have just scored. Yes, get in there.
You support Tottenham again?
Yeah, I support Tottenham again. So they've just scored. But let me tell you something, the levels that he set. Listen, Kyle Walker, you talk about him slowing down. he's still quicker than most right-backs in the Premier League. It's because he's set that bar so high. He's had a fantastic career, whatever happens, whether he decides that he does leave Man City.
He playing against a right-back, though. He's playing against a right winger,
no,
left
but,
winger.
Yeah, but what I'm saying about Kyle Walker is one of the best fullbacks there is. And Jay made the point at the end. It'd be one of the best other... If you go and pick your all-time best English right back, he would be in there, definitely, without a shadow of doubt, because he's been fantastic. His recovery runs. I see the battles he's had with Mbappe. No one don't really keep Mbappe quiet. Vinicius Jr., he's done that throughout his career. So the career he's had, Kyle Walker's been fantastic. And as it say, it does catch up with you in the end, but I still think he's still got a lot to offer. And maybe just a different...
It became abundantly clear after Manchester United's penalty shootout victory over Arsenal in the FA Cup that Ruben Amorim chose to forego the celebrations. Amorim shook hands with Mikel Arteta and members of the Arsenal coaching staff before heading down the tunnel at the Emirates Stadium. Meanwhile, United's players remained on the pitch to relish their hard-fought victory with 10 men. The club's backroom staff followed suit, gathering around Joshua Zirkzee and Altay Bayındır, the heroes of the shootout. The players and staff then applauded the 7,956 travelling supporters in the clock end. Yet, Amorim's conspicuous absence stood out. This decision carries significant weight. Amorim is keen to let his players bask in the limelight, believing they should receive the adoration of the fans without him overshadowing their moment. In contrast, when the team faces disappointment, whether through a loss or a frustrating draw, Amorim is quick to step onto the pitch, take charge, and accept the spotlight, demonstrating his willingness to shoulder responsibility. Following United's 2-0 defeat to Arsenal in the Premier League last month, he entered the Emirates pitch, while his players stood frozen for nearly 2 minutes, reflecting on their lackluster performance after the Boxing Day defeat to Wolves, a moment orchestrated by Amorim himself. After United's encouraging 2-2 draw at Anfield, Amorim again slipped down the tunnel after acknowledging onslaught, signalling his approval of both the performance and the outcome. His actions reveal a thoughtful and strategic approach to leadership, emphasizing the team's collective achievements over individual recognition.